right, to call the meeting to order of the Barrie Unified Union School District Facilities and Transportation Committee. Any additions or changes to the agenda? Going once, going twice. Any public comment? Okay, review and approve the meeting minutes for August 28th, 2023.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ben, seconded by Mary Jane. Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And this is Du Bois and King's stormwater remediation approval.
So I'm not seeing Chris on the screen. Maybe he's running a little late.
Do you have a contact form?
So I can try.
To say this, I was meeting with the Spalding administrative team today, and people are pretty thrilled about this
Yes.
and the impact it's going to have out there, and long time coming. So it's just great news.
Well, I reached out to him this morning. We talked a little bit about the latest update on the plans. Sent him the invite. I don't know what else. I'll try emailing him maybe.
I do have hard copies of the agenda here if everybody wants one. You all, oh, okay.
Do you have the addendum?
Indeed.
I was gonna just look at it through my phone.
That's what I was gonna do too. Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pen recycle?
Yes, please.
I realized I didn't have any ink until I had to change the agenda to blue.
I've done that a few times. Sometimes red.
I don't have a top, but.
I mean, in worst case scenario, Jamie, we can walk people through this.
Yeah, we may have to. Sure, put emails that happen. So that happens.
Another worry is like, is he having trouble getting in?
I don't think those issues for a while.
We really haven't.
See if he got his phone on his hip, see if he responds, yeah. Have you folks had a chance to review the drawings at all today?
Yeah, I was
Did a little bit.
I didn't have any issues.
We want to go ahead and maybe just start having a discussion about it and see if he joins, yeah. So some things have changed, but not anything drastic, at least in my opinion, as far as if folks are gonna have questions and say, hey, we know, we shouldn't do this way. Really, the real biggest change, or maybe realization, was that the existing chain link fencing that separates the ball field from the parking lot and driveways, all that vintage 1964 chain link fencing will go away and be replaced with this original 1964. Yep. Replaced with guardrail, with a couple of various openings to the ball field similar to where they are now. There will be a little bit of an opening. Let's see how to describe this. When you come in through the turnstile to come into the AG Pendo field, to the left of that, some of that fencing may remain and or have an opening in the guardrail to allow for our snow plowing purposes to push the snow onto the field. So that will be a little bit different and somewhat similar to what's there now.
So that turnstile device will disappear.
Right.
So that's, I think that's kind of an
Iconic.
interesting, well, it's an interesting way to funnel traffic through.
But what's being proposed is to have a removable mullion in that opening. So if and when a big vehicle need to go through there, that mullion could be removed to allow that. Otherwise, it'll allow a lot of, ease of traffic in and out of the fields. At the same time, these entrances are designed so that vehicles can't enter the property, into the ball fields, without the proper way of letting them in, so that somebody else can get onto the field and do any potential damage or be where they shouldn't be. The swale is still the same. The swale will probably pretty much mimic the whole places where the fencing is. With the exception of the swale, it does not go all the way down towards the softball field. It goes down to kind of where that pie-shaped parking lot area is, the old asphalt parking lot area. It sort of ends there and kind of continues across to where space in 7.
Here it is.
Juliana, did you want to allow questions, or was there a question, or did I miss it?
No, Chris is joining us.
Oh, I'm
Just
sorry.
popped in.
Oh, there he is. Okay, very good. Well, then I'll kind of stop talking and let him take over. He'll do a better job.
Well, you can give him context or how far you got.
Chris, are you there?
Yep. Sorry, I'm a little late.
That's okay. I just started to kind of give a little brief description as to what changes were made since you came to visit us.
Yep.
So I didn't really get into the weeds of it other than to say the chain link fencing was going to be going away, installing guardrails in its place. The swale is still in the same areas, but that has changed a little bit where it goes across the old parking lot area.
Yeah, so the existing entrance to the old parking lot is essentially going to stay, but it will be grassed, and the swale is going to stop in order to allow for just the driven access onto the fields, onto that new section of field. Instead of going all the way over to the catch basin, that's kind of on that northeastern side. So that was the one change to the swales. It doesn't change the it doesn't change the treatment or anything like that. I actually went out there, and instead of the other change to the treatment itself was that these don't have to be under drained now. So we can do away with the under drain and the stone. So what we'll be doing is just essentially putting in that sand and material. I went out there last 2 weeks ago to do some test pits, and then I put in some infiltration holes. I did the infiltration testing late last week, and was able to determine that the soils that you guys have, should be able to handle most of the storm events that you have, and it will meet the requirements for the state. So no under drains required, and then any overflow would go into a couple of structures and be directly piped to the existing storm sewer system. Speaking of the existing storm sewer system, there was a couple of changes to that as well. Instead of keeping the catch basin that's in the parking lot, that's going to be removed. That's going to go away, and we're going to redirect that piping. We're going to direct pipe it from the parking lot right over to where it outlets now, which is just behind the batting cages, going to that existing catch basin, as well as the northeastern catch basin at the corner of the parking lot. That will be also being, instead of going to right now it goes to the parking lot catch basin first. That one's going to be direct piped over to by the batting cages as well. I apologize. I was rushing down here, so I don't have my plans open at the moment. Do you want me to bring those up, Jamie, and present them?
Yeah, could you please? Yeah.
Yeah, just so that everybody can see it. Like I said, I've been running around this evening. Let's see if I can get onto my. Of course, it's not going to let me.
And while Chris is doing that, Jamie, so when the catch basin in the parking lot is removed, it's just a pipe connecting the two pipes together. Is that
Yeah, most of those catch basins, has an inlet and an outlet. So joining the pipe together and or relocating a catch basin to another location. And what that's going to do, so if you're looking on the plans where it says catch basin 3, that will be removed. What that's going to allow is now that entire area can be a grassy sports area to allow for, additional practice areas, whatnot. Yeah. It'd be a shame to have, all that grassy area, then have a catch basin, right in the middle of the play area.
I think it's in between the first baseline and the dugouts when it's laid on top. It's pretty close.
Yeah.
Where are they? See if I can present my screen now.
So while you're still looking, Chris, I'll steal some of your thunder if you want.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's all right. Go for it.
So if you kind of go from roughly about where that catch basin 3 is, that general location, all the way down Crimson Tide Drive where it leads you towards Air Street. At one point, that swale was going to follow that fence line. That swale no longer needs to be there because of where catch basin 3 is. That catch basin will travel across that area. So it's more serviceable area, that the students will now have to do additional practice area on until we do the renovation of the ball field someday.
And then you mentioned that the fence is going away, and that's also includes that fence.
Correct.
Yep. So can everybody see my screen now? I tried to share it. Hopefully it worked.
Yeah, we can see it fine.
Okay. So yeah, we're now removing all of the impervious. So in this plan, the walkway got added as well. We proposed some boulders up here by Ayer Street. That was one of the other changes because we started thinking about access. We want to make sure that nobody can drive from there. Obviously, there's Jersey barriers now, but something a little more landscape-ish. We can put those in there. Oops.
Granite boulders?
What's that?
Granite boulders?
That's what Jamie was talking about. That'll be up to you guys if for what you want. But made it sound like the quarry was open to giving you guys some material.
We can just do a train heist. As it's going by.
There you go.
Good strategic derailment.
So yeah, as Jamie mentioned, we're still removing this catch basin 3 here where my mouse is. The one thing I did that I did do was actually realign a new pipe in there. These are all older RCP pipes, so there's going to be some disturbance to them. So I'm more inclined to redo it with some HDPE polyethylene pipe. So we did that, and then we did catch basin 7 up here on the like I said, northern section of the parking lot there. That actually is piped to catch basin 3 now. That one's going to be direct over to catch basin 2, which we are going to replace. That one will be replaced because of the new piping configurations. And then as well as one other piping configuration that we discussed was out by the current soccer goal there's catch basin. We have it labeled as 14 and 15. We knew 15 was going to go away. That was always kind of the plan. as we discussed when we were out there, it actually might be really nice to remove that as well, so that doesn't end up potentially in a soccer field if when the new ball fields come on, when you redo the ball fields. So the way we repiped this was the new catch basin that we're proposing will be the only one, and that will also direct pipe right over to catch basin 2. So those were some of the configuration changes that we had discussed. As I mentioned, the under drains aren't going to be required anymore. So this this whole stretch won't have an under drain. All the soils were really good under there, very well infiltrating. And so in this case, what we're actually going to do is this beehive grate that we're going to propose, that's going to stay. And then we're going to have essentially 2, one here to tie in with catch basin 16, and then one to catch basin 15R. There'll be a drain pipe underneath the swale itself. Similar to, if you look at the profile here, similar to what the under drain would have done. It's going to go right under the swale from one to the other. Let's see. Because the fence is coming out, we extended the guardrail all the way along the road here to the existing entrance to the football field. We're going to open that up with just a regular walkway opening with a couple of bollards. We discussed using those as fold down so that there you can essentially take a pin out and the whole bollard would fold down, and that would allow for emergency access if an ambulance needed to get onto the field, anything like that. It's wide enough that probably 2 would be needed to keep a spacing for a car not to go through. So we had 2 proposed in there. We continued the guardrail all the way around the corner and all the way up to the existing parking spaces, with the exception of a swing gate for plowing access. So you guys can still plow and keep your maintenance operations pretty much the same in the winter time. I think that was it. Oh, going back to this area where we're keeping this access, it's also going to have a similar swing type gate.
We spoke about having some boulders up above that swing gate.
Yep, going along the grass there. We showed some boulders here along this way so that, again, cars won't be able to drive out and around the gate to get on the field and tear it up or anything.
Yeah.
But it will allow for your maintenance operations, getting your tractors on there, and if need be, any emergency access. Questions?
Chris, when will you be able to share a opinion of probable cost now that these changes have been put on paper?
I'm gonna put that together here shortly. My focus last week was just trying to get the permit application done and getting that in hopefully this week. Although, Jamie, I know you mentioned in your email that you think the school board has to approve this as well, and I don't know when they meet next, so hopefully that's soon. But if it's next week or whatever, I can get the opinion of costs done this week.
October 11.
Yeah, so it's the middle of next week, Chris.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we'll get the opinion of cost done before then.
Great.
Or in the next couple days.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I was trying to make sure you had a copy of the application for today, so that
Sure.
can be approved and move forward.
Yeah. Am I correct? So the facility committee needs to approve it to then forward it to the board?
That's my understanding.
They not necessarily approve it, but recommend
Right.
approval.
Yeah.
So I think really the changes that were made since this was last presented to the committee, in my opinion, if anything, it's been even another improvement to what we had before. Removing more fencing, installing less swale, and less swale being in the area of the ball field area. I think it's just gotten better and better each time.
The under drain removal will be a nice savings as well, because that's a foot or two less of excavation across all those swales, along with the piping and the stone required. So yeah, I think that's a nice removal as well.
Yeah.
The only thing I'll really have to dig into in terms of getting the cost is some of those boulders. Just having to come up with something for that. We'll see. I know we have a project down in New Hampshire that we just did something with these types of boulders. So I'll have to look and see what happened there.
We've got a question for you, Chris.
Yep.
Well, not so much for Chris, but maybe for Jamie and Chris Hennessy. So what are we recommending to the board, that we approve this to move forward with permitting, correct?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would make that motion then, that we recommend to the full board to approve this design submitted by Du Bois and King for permitting to the full board.
Second.
So Terry with the motion, Ben with the second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Opposed? All right, thank you.
Very good.
Well, thank you, Chris.
Thank you for your time, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you for bearing with me, being a little late.
No problem.
It's all good. Thank you.
All right. Have a good evening, everybody.
Good night.
You too.
Okay.
Thanks. Bye.
All right, any old business?
You don't have any?
I have one from way back.
Oh,
I was at the homecoming game, and I noticed that the students had activities going on, and it was in a super dark zone, from the entrance to the beginning of the concessions.
Yep.
So, I
Where the
had,
bonfire always was. That
yes,
Yeah,
it was like,
yeah.
cornhole
Yeah.
and some other things going on. It was just almost pitch black.
Yep.
Is there a way we can get in touch with Green Mountain Power and see if they can put one of their newer lights up on a pole pointing in that direction?
I can. I remember we talked about that before, years ago. And is it something that we want to have lit all the time, or just for
I was
particular
thinking,
events?
I don't
As
think we
needed.
need, yeah. And
So-
that might be a different story then.
Yeah, and then that's when we started talking about putting it on the building so that we had control of when and if we turn the light on.
Okay, I'm fine with that too. I mean, if those lights have a pretty good reach.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be like floodlight, but just so that
Yeah.
What my thinking was similar to what they installed at the entrances of Hope Cemetery and Elmwood Cemetery. It's a similar light that I think Green Mountain Power is putting out now instead of the other lights, and it has a wide reach from far away.
Well, let me look into it. Let me resurrect my research.
Thank you. Anything else? All right, items for future agenda? Ben?
So just to kind of honor Mary Bowers coming into one of our board meetings, we think we should on Jamie's 5-year plan as a capital improvement, or start looking forward, discussing Berry Town and Berry City and making sure they have the air conditioning they need for students and staff, considering, am I right in saying that Spalding now, like when this project's done, the rooms will pretty much all be have some sort of conditioning of air or dehumidification?
Yeah, so Spalding will have some dehumidification, which is essentially air conditioning, but on a bit of a smaller scale. But that is the main 4 core hallways of classrooms in the high school. So it's not to say that the majority of the building will be air conditioned, because it won't be. It's, you know, just, and I say just, but it's a big improvement. You know, those 4 main core hallways will have dehumidification. Berry Town has air conditioning throughout the building, with exception of, I think it's the cafeteria, gym, multi-purpose room. In that discussion, a couple board meetings ago, I wasn't there, but I learned that there was some concern about some of the AC not working. I did explain that at the last board meeting, you know, what the reasoning was, you know, just untimely, shortage of help, summer school. It was a, you know, combination of a lot of things. But to say, and I'm not going to dare say it, that I can't speak to Berry City and what plan that's on at this moment. I can't say it's in a 5-year plan. I can't say it's in a 10-year plan. I think it's something that we need to start discussing heavily, that if we want Berry City to have some of that feature as well.
But
So
Great.
let's start the conversation.
I think just whether it's an audit of our schools and where we're at, but I think it'd be important for kids and learning to make sure they can learn in any conditions, because it is, I just know from teaching at Spalding and on the 2nd floor that when it's hot, you can't do anything. Like you really just, no one can learn and work in those conditions. And then to level out working conditions for all staff, that no one's feeling like my working conditions are worse because I teach this subject, but just in my room doesn't have it. So just doing an audit and trying to come up with potentially a plan, maybe can we get there? Is it possible to get everyone some sort of dehumidifying or air conditioning, or just better working conditions for staff and students?
It's a big
Conversation
conversation.
Yeah.
To start having. Sure.
All right, thank you, Ben. Andrea?
I was just going to throw a reminder that we're not really supposed to be discussing the matter while we're just discussing if we want to add it to the agenda, but discussion of the actual matter shouldn't be occurring in this meeting.
Sorry about that.
Forget everything I said.
Any other items? Good.
It was last meeting, I think we talked about having transportation come to one of, not this meeting, but maybe November or December, and that I didn't know.
I was just gonna say
Oh,
that.
okay.
Yeah. See if we can invite maybe one of the principals from DCBT along with that transportation coordinator, Terry. I think would be a good idea.
I have a question about the transportation coordinators. They're not, well, there's just one, but they're not administrators in any capacity. So their time ends at the regular school day. So
Yes, but there's some flexibility around their day too.
okay. I just wanted to make sure that we're not asking anything that, you know, other than that.
Right. Oh yeah, coming to this would definitely be outside their school day.
Mm-hmm.
We can at the very least see if we can get a report.
Okay.
You know, we can possibly have Brenda and or Jarrett, Jen and Erica come too, because they work directly with it.
Yep.
So.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? All right. The next meeting date is November 6th here at the Spalding High School Library. And I would look for an adjournment.
Second.
Motion by Mary James and then by Ben. All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Good night all.